Okay, perfect. So we are actually almost done. Tonight's the last class. Thank you everyone for joining us. We are up to verse 26. We're actually into the sixth day. We talked at the end last week about the progression of evolution of the animals from fish to birds to land animals. We are now actually up to the creation of man, which is a loaded topic, as we'll see. Where did I just put that? Okay, so we're going to take this, I guess, really like one word at a time. Maybe we'll just read the whole thing and then we'll break it down afterwards. So, I think the only person here who hasn't read yet is Rabbi. So we're calling on you for verse 26 and 27.
Okay. And God said, let us make man in our image after our likeness. They shall rule over the fish of the sea, the bird of the sky, and over the animal of the whole earth, and every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth. So God created man in his image. In the image of God he created him, male and female he created them.
Okay, so lots to talk about. Let's start from the top. Let's go to the beginning. So the first thing, right? God says, what does God say?
Let us make man in our image.
Okay, so let's start with this. Let us make man. So,
Who's the us?
most basic question. Who said that?
Who's
Denise?
the us?
All right, who's the us? Let us make man. That's a very strange statement if you're a monotheistic religion, right? Us implies that there's multiple creators. And this is actually a source in Christian theology. One of the proofs of Jesus is the fact that it says, let us. And who was God talking to? God was talking to Jesus, right? Who else is he talking to? Let us create man. So, obviously, in case you didn't realize that's not the Jewish answer to this mystery over here. But the question is, what is let us referring to? Who is us? So again, we look to Rashi. Rashi tells us from the Oral Law an amazing concept. And he tells us basically that God's coming to create man. Basically, the entire world is complete. There's really one last missing piece to the puzzle. And what is that? Man. So God says that there's some little angels around that have been created already. And these angels are going to be jealous when they see man being created. And because of that, God wanted to kind of involve them, so to speak, in the creation process. So he went to talk to these angels to say, what do you guys think? Should we go ahead and make man? To discuss with them that they shouldn't be jealous or they shouldn't be angry at the creation of man. An obvious question to this is,
when were they created?
When were they created is a great question. Angels were created on day 2. We mentioned that not every single thing that was created is listed in the Torah. Torah lists only certain parts of creation that God felt necessary for us to learn from. There's obviously a lot more things in the world that aren't listed in the Torah. Angels were created on day 2. The question is, why are these angels going to be so jealous that they need man, that they need to be involved in the creation of man? What is their jealousy? So let's ask a question then here. Let's say you have a scale. You're trying to figure out who is greater, man or angel? Who's greater? Okay, food for thought. One more question. Who is greater, man or animal? Man. Okay, we haven't answered that one. Anyone else have an opinion on either of these 2 points?
Well, we're supposed to be Hashem's children, and so that would make them not Hashem's children.
Who's that? The angels and
The
animals? Angels.
Yeah.
Okay, we're Hashem's children, so and Father, we're greater. We have a unique relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Love it, right? Any other takers?
I would say the angels are greater.
Angels are greater. In what way?
Well, I just think about like them being more powerful. I mean, you look at like Jacob's dream, or with the angel, and I don't know. In my head, it seems like they would be here, because I mean, I just like I picture them as being like up there, and we're like physically up,
Right.
So
Totally hear that. So the real answer is that everyone's right. Man, inherently, angels are definitely on a higher spiritual level. Animals are on a lower spiritual level. And then the question is, where do humans fit in? So humans are unique. Because if you think about it, in a certain sense, animal and angels are really both the same. They're both really robots. Animals and angels are both programmed creations that do whatever their instinct tells them to do. Angels in a spiritual sense, and animals in a physical sense. Neither of them have free choice, neither of them have struggles, neither of them have difficulties. They do whatever they do. Man has the potential to be greater than angels and has the potential to be lower than animals. You can all think of people we know of or have heard of probably, whether we know them personally or not, that maybe a great sage or a great person that actually, they're like a living angel. Everything they did was just great. We also know in history of horrible, horrible people that were significantly worse than animals, the destruction and stuff that they've created. So man is really a unique creature here, and this is really the source of the jealousy of the angels. Because man has this potential, that men actually can make themselves greater than angels, and we'll talk about that a little bit soon, that man can take, kind of like we mentioned last time, from the last class, the concept of the soul, which is a concept of Jewish spirituality, the taking the physical, living through these struggles and lifting up your struggles, connecting to spirituality through the physical. That's a uniquely human concept. So humans have the ability to become greater than angels. Therefore, the angels could have been, so to speak, jealous of the creation of man, because man is this unbelievable being that can actually elevate themselves to a level higher than angels. The problem with this is, let's even say that happened. Let's say we had some tradition, and we knew for sure God had this conversation with angels. Why did God have to write in the Torah, let us make men? Right? He could have just not told this to us. He could have done that to make them happy. Not every single thing that happened is written down in the Torah. So this is a very misleading statement. Let us make men. Like we pointed out, Christianity uses this as a proof. So it's a nice answer God spoke to the angels, but why would he write that? So here's an amazing thing. I think we mentioned this once. I don't know if I'm only familiar. According to Wikipedia, this is actually a picture of a scroll from the Septuagint. Septuagint, we mentioned, was in ancient Greece. Now, I forgot which king it was. He wanted the rabbis to translate the Torah into Greek. So he, unknowingly to the rabbis, chose 70 rabbis, gave them each their own room, which they were locked into. They couldn't converse, no cell phones and no computers and no way of communicating. And he told them all, translate your Torah into Greek. And that way he knew it would be genuine, because if you erred, then you were off, which is a risk to, insulting the king. So no one would want to do that, and therefore he would know that he would have the accurate translation of the text. So the Talmud in Tractate Megillah, I believe it's 9a, is that right? You wrote it down? 9a, did you write it down? Says that God made a few different miracles, and he put it in the mind of all of the sages to make a few certain changes. And they all made the same certain changes. One of those changes that the Talmud lists is our verse. It says God changed it from na'as Adam, let us make man, to e'es Adam, which is, and I will make man. Right? Meaning, this is a major risk. You're basically announcing, it definitely sounds like there's multiple gods. So why would God want to take that risk? Why is God writing this to tell us this conversation he had with angels? Just don't tell us, or make it add it into the oral tradition, somehow you tell Moses and it'll pass on orally. Why would you risk writing this in the Torah when it seems like it's such a risky thing to do? So the answer is, as Rashi says, is to teach us humility. And that is that God wants to teach a lesson that when you're on top and you people below you, people underneath you, don't view yourself as like the know-all, do-all, just commands everybody else what to do. You should discuss your operations, even with people that are lower than you, even people that are below you, and bring them into it, make them feel like they're part of things, which is an expression of your own humility, because the true leadership skills come from humility. Thank you for joining. Honorary welcome to Rabbi Heller, for those of you who don't know him. One of the best neighbors anyone can ask for.
Never talked to him, so.
He doesn't cause any problems, that's what I'm saying. So again, God is teaching us this message of humility. That when you're on top, you should talk to those that are below you, and you should involve them and include them. And, as Rashi points out, look at verse 27. What's the first thing it says in verse 27? So God created him, right? It says right away, God created him, right? Meaning the next verse, when it talks about the actual creation of man, clearly writes that God, singular, one person, created man. So it's a very interesting thing. This first verse, verse 26, I forgot to mention this, is actually a very interesting thing. Throughout all of creation, we never find an introduction to the creation. It always says that God said, let there be animals, and there was animals. God said, let there be light, and there was light. Here, for some reason, God has this thought out process. God said, we should make man in our image, after our likeness, and he's going to do all of this. And then in verse 27, God actually goes ahead and creates him. Rabbi Hirsch points out that it's unique to the greatness of man that is actually part of the thought out process of God was preparing for this unbelievable creation of man. But in the actual creation of man, which is verse 27, it says very clearly there's only one creator in the singular, by Yivra in Hebrew. Right? And in he singular, referring to the only God, actually created man. So that is that's the first two words of this verse. Let's move on. So again, God said, let us make man. How did he make man? Go to the next 4 words, 5 words, 6 words?
In our image, after our likeness.
In our image, after our likeness. So again, God's having this conversation with the angels. And he says, okay guys, we're going to make this creature, this man. And he's going to be in our image and our likeness. So what does it mean in God's image and God's likeness? What does that mean? Some kind of like. What does it mean to be in God's image? What's God's image?
Maybe not necessarily his physical image.
Okay, why not?
Well, not that why not, but also more so on a how it's supposed to act.
Okay, great point. In our image in terms of acting like us. Greatness like us. Okay, any other thoughts? So what does it mean in God's image? Let's just prove that it doesn't mean his physical image. There's 2 proofs to that. One proof is God doesn't have a physical image. How do we know that? God's limitless. By definition, something that has a physical form, my arm ends here, my fingers are this long, everything's defined. God is by definition limitless, so he can't have an image, so we can't be in that image. Right? Point 1. Point 2 is, our physical bodies are almost the exact same as almost every animal. Animals have eyes, have noses, have mouths, have hands, have feet, have ears, have stomachs. We're not so different. Only man is said to have been created in the likeness and image of God. So there has to be something unique about man that was in the image of God that's not just his physical senses or his eyes or nose or ears, because animals were not made in the image of God. That's unique to man that he was made in the image of God. So what exactly does it mean in the image of God? So this has nothing to do with anything, but it was about free will, so I put it in because I thought it was funny. But classic. It's good. Okay, moving on. So what does it mean in the image of God? So what it does mean is that man has that's a shout out for all those that didn't play football tonight. In order to come study Torah, we had a football Torah joke. But what does it mean that man was created in the image of God? So what it means is that man is unique in the sense that he has choices. He has roads, he has paths, he has to figure out where do I want to go? What do I want to do, right? The fact of choosing to be good or bad, that is a uniquely human concept. Animals don't have morals, they don't have choices. If a lion kills a gazelle, he didn't make a bad moral decision. He did what he does, he's a lion. When a human chooses to kill another human, in the general sense, they're doing a bad moral decision. They're choosing to be bad. So what does it mean that we're made in the image of God, in the likeness of God? It means that God gave us free will, that we could choose to go on a good path or on a bad path. We could choose how we want to live our lives. And that's an amazing thing, because think what comes out from that. What comes out from that are crusades and Holocaust and people shooting policemen and every other crazy thing that happens in the world is an extension. And you don't find the lions that created a Holocaust or killed the policeman lion, right? That doesn't happen in the animal kingdom. That's an extension of this great gift that God gave us. Is it a great gift or is it not? Are we lucky? Are we fortunate that we have this? Or is it not so great? Look what happens to a lot of people.
Well, one thing I kind of wonder about, and I've had this discussion a long time ago, like when I was in Sunday school, is so if God is omnipotent, wouldn't God know what choice is going to be made regardless? So then in that case, do we really have free will?
Yes, that was too deep, that question.
that was a comic strip.
That one was too deep. You know, I put it in. The kid never asked that question. Yeah, that is an amazing question. It's a very good question. The struggle between free will and the knowledge of God. If God knows everything and exists without time, how is it possible to create a world in which we have the actual ability to choose freely? That is an amazing, amazing question. There's a lot of writing on that. It goes back to like Maimonides, we discussed, talks about that way back, and I think it's a great conversation, but I think it's beyond the scope of this class. But maybe we'll start another YJC series on hot topics, and that's an amazing topic to talk for an hour on. So, for now, I would say that we mentioned before man, and that scale, right? Man has the ability to be greater than angels, or lower or worse than animals, right? That's an extension of this concept, right? Of the concept of free will. So, it's somewhat of a necessary evil. God wants there to be a creation that can be like God. God can choose what he wants. If God wants to destroy the world right now, the world will be over. He has that ability. He can do what he wants. He chooses not to. God chooses to be good. God is good. But God can do what he wants. God made man in his image. The man can also do what he wants, more or less. We can do good, we can do bad. That was a necessary creation. Now, obviously, to have free choice, there has to be this choice between good and evil. So I would say it's a necessary evil. So all these bad things that have happened, yeah, they're terrible, and I'm not going to even attempt to try to explain or discuss any of them. But through them, there also have been those people that have struggled through those difficulties and have become great, or other difficulties, and have chosen the right path, and have made themselves such great godlike creatures that maybe it was worth creating for that, right? It's an amazing concept, and it's scary, really, because it's so heavy, it's so big. But that's our merit as being human, that we are actually able to choose that. And if you think for a second about your own life, how much of life do we actually control? Did any of us control who our parents were?
No.
So that affects us a lot, like how we develop and what we do and how we behave. It's very effective. If we choose who our siblings were, do we choose how our kids behave? Do we choose what school we went to? Let's start with elementary school. No. High school, probably not. College, even if we think we did, it was probably just an outgrowth of going through the other system until then. Your friends are probably mostly more or less wherever you were around in the schools. Your parents put you into. There's really very, very little of life that we actually control. What do we actually control? Ourselves. Like, what do we control? We don't control the circumstances that happen to us. The circumstances, like, we control how we react to those circumstances, right? Our control, our point of free will is really, are we going to be a mensch? Are we going to react appropriately? Or are we going to be bad, be off? And it's an amazing thing. What happens when you get really, really angry? What do we say? You lose control, right? Why is it called you lose control? It's that he lost control. Look at him. He lost control. Why is it losing control? Because the only thing you control is how you behave, is how you react. Are you going to be a mensch or are you not going to? It's all you control. When you're angry, you lose control. You lose control of everything you have control of, you lose once you're angry. Right? Because the only thing we actually control is ourselves. And once you're angry, you lost that. So this is it's an amazing thing to think about. And this is really the power that God gave us. God gave us this ability to choose. Someone insulted you, right? You don't choose other people's words. You choose how you respond to them. You choose how we move on past them. That's our free will. That's what we can choose. Either be godly and say, like, it's below me. I'm not going back. I'm not getting back at this guy. He's a loser. Like, I'm not going down there. Or we can go below than the animals, and try to go slashing tires afterwards. That's our choice. That's part of our greatness. Okay, so that is what means in the image of God. So again, let us make man. That was God consulting with the angels, teaching us the message of humility, of speaking to those that are below you. In our image, meaning man was created not in the physical image of God, does not exist. Man was created with a greatness, with his ability to be greater than the angels, which is why they were jealous, because man can, like we mentioned in last class, take our physical world and connect to God with it, which is a uniquely human concept, by choosing how they use the world around them, how they act, how they behave, which is an amazing concept. Now if you go to the next word is the concept of vayirdu. word vayirdu means that you shall rule over the world, right? What does it say? Over the fish, birds, the animals, the whole earth. Whole earth. And every creeping thing that creeps upon earth. So what does this mean that man owns the whole earth? Basically, what God is saying here, this is the final creation of the world, and I'm creating right now a manager, basically. Your job is, this is awesome world out there. The world has animals and trees and metal and rocks. There's so much stuff you can do with this world. I'm putting you in charge of doing it. I kind of imagine like this. Imagine you have a boss, and the boss comes over to the person that's working underneath him, puts his arm around her shoulder, and he says, you know, you've been working really hard. I have this huge task, and I want you to take it because I know you can handle it. I know you could do it. And this task is so big that if you do this task, you'll actually become upgraded to be my partner. And with that, he hands the task and he walks away. Right? So what just happened? It's an amazing opportunity now. You have these people, this person who was just an assistant seconds ago, was now upgraded to being a partner, but that came with this role of doing these managerial tasks, this hard stuff of running. That's really what God told man when he created him. Vayirdu bigas hayam. You will rule over the sea, you'll rule over the birds, the land, everything. What does that mean? That means God's saying, look, I'm putting you here, you're my partner. We're partners. I'm putting you in charge, I'm giving you a task. Your task is to develop this world, to build the world, and to make yourself and the world around you great. God's. And that's a big task. That's man's role. That's what we see here. God put man in this world in order that he should rule over all these things, because that is the greatest of men. That is what they could do. And that's the whole point of this world really is. It's a pretty amazing thing if you think about how much man really has been able to extract from our world. The things we've been able to create for it was made there for this purpose, right? There's certain discussions found in other areas in terms of human intervention versus divine plan. Like it comes up in classic, like medically by like blood transfusions. Sign a waiver, you have a baby, to go into the hospital, and they have to watch you with witnesses, sign a waiver that says you're willing to accept blood transfusions. Now, that's an amazing thing that medical system has created, that we're able to do such things, right? That's part of this process of controlling the world and developing it. We're able to build buildings. We're able to take valves from a pig and allow humans' hearts to continue to function. It's an amazing stuff that we're able to do in this development process, and that is really our job. Our job is to properly develop this world, but at the same time, not just develop it so we could be lazy and do nothing, but develop it to help ourselves and the world around us better connect to God. Okay, so that's verse 26. Again, verse 26, God talks to the angels. He says, we're going to create this creature. Don't be jealous. They have the potential to be greater than you. You're with me, a part of this creation, teaching us the lesson of humility. God then created this unbelievable creature that has the potential to choose to be the most God-like he can, and was given the task of running the world. Amazing. Verse 27. So the first thing in verse 27, so the first word is, anyone want to take it? Well, that's what we read it. Either way, take the verse 27.
So God created man in his image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them.
Okay, so let's get some questions here. This doesn't make any sense. Who has some questions on this verse? 27.
It's kind of repetitive. So God created man in his image. In the image of God, he created him.
Okay.
Or is that saying like God created man and like in the image of God he created him, like man created?
When he's saying him, doesn't mean God, or not?
I think it means in the image of God he created him, meaning God created man.
Right.
Which is repetitive.
Okay.
I agree with your question. Great question. Yeah. Any other questions?
Starts with him and then ends with them.
Okay, great question, Rabbi Heller. It says he created him, and it says male and female he created them. So what exactly did God create? Did he create man did he create him, or did he create them? Right? It switches from singular to plural in the middle. Now there's not a great translation here, but I'm going to adjust it from the Hebrew because I think it's missing a word here. But the Hebrew says, Vayivra es ha'adam. And God created, literally translated as the man. Right? That's the appropriate, again, word. Everyone here, if you don't know Hebrew, you gotta learn Hebrew, because even ArtScroll, which is a pretty good translation, in the end of the day, it's not the same as the original text. Unbelievable to learn these things inside the original text. So in the original text of Hebrew, it says, Vayivra es ha'adam, and he created the man. So we'll add in another question, and that is, what is the man? So I'm not sure what's coming up right now, so let's just try that. Okay, that, we didn't get there yet, but it's all good. Okay, so the first question is, another question that we mentioned last time. Who remembers the word voracious? What does the word voracious mean? The word bara. We spoke about with unique different words of creation. I'll give you a hint. I already put it on the screen. So, what does it mean? What does the word bara mean? We spoke about how God created one speck of initial creation of something from nothing, right? Ex nihilo or nihilo is the original creation. God created the potential for everything in one small tiny speck. We spoke about this in the second class, and from that He developed the rest of the world. And the Nachmanides is right. That's the word bara. The word bara always reflects creation of something from nothing, which is why we really only find it in the beginning, bara, voracious. After we only found words of vayas and vayatzar and vayotze, different words that are just coming out or extending or making. But we don't find the same word of creation ex nihilo anymore after the first passage. There's one exception to that. This word says, and God created man, it says Vayivra es Adam. God bara. God created man seemingly ex nihilo. It's a problem because we said everything was created already, the mass that it was. So Nachmanides again comes here and says, there was really two parts to the creation of man. There was the creation of man in, if you look in Genesis, I don't know if we have it here, we have in this paragraph, do you have 2:7? Oh, we do. 2:7 says, and Hashem, God, formed the man of dust from the ground, and He blew into his nostril the soul of life. So here it says formed, right? He formed man from the dust of the ground. Next page, chapter 2, verse 7. Got it? Are you missing pages? Perfect. There it is. 2:7, right? So God formed man from the dust of the earth. So Nachmanides explains that, what does it mean He formed man from the dust of the earth? The physical body, our skin, our flesh, our bones, whatever it was that God created, however it looked like at that point in time, God created from the dust of the earth. However, there was something unique. There was a creation ex nihilo that was unique by man. That God once again created something from nothing, and that was man's soul, man's spirit. And that was a unique new creation, which is why you find the word bara here again. Because the soul of man was not from anything that had existed before. The physical body of man, yeah, it looks like a monkey, it looks like a gorilla, whatever. It's going to be similar to other creations that also came forth from the land. But the soul that God blew into his nostrils, the soul of life, that was a new creation that God gave from Himself, something from nothing, and that the soul of Adam, and that was really the greatness that we were talking about in the last verse. That's expressed in actual coming out of man in the word Vayivra. God created man in this ex nihilo. What do you mean ex nihilo? What do you mean ex nihilo? He did it already. So this is hinting at that fact that no, God created man different. God created man this huge creature that can choose to be great, can choose to be godlike. This unbelievable great creature. And then, I think, another point here is, who's the man? Right? It says that God, again, this is hard because it wrote the wrong word here, but in Hebrew it's Vayivra es ha'adam. And God created the man. Who's the man? Created man. There was only one man, right? So He was man. God created man. Like they explain in the simple translation, they're right, God created man. But we know that when God wrote the Torah, every single letter is weighed, every single letter is important. So if God wrote here, ha'adam, the man, it has to teach us something. It has to be implying something. Another question is, really, what exactly did God create? As Rabbi Hala mentioned, did He create this kind of like androgynous being? One kind of being? Him? Did He create them? What exactly was the creation of God? What exactly did God create? So again, we go to Rashi, and Rashi explains this verse to us. So there's a few very interesting things. What is the man? Whenever you find in the Torah it says the man, it's always referring to an androgynous being of male and female. Whenever it says the man, it's referring to a joint being of both male and female. And God created this first initial being, both male and female, attached, or in one body. Then afterwards, God, as we know in the next chapter, extracted the woman from the man and turned them into two beings. Which is why it says in the verse, God created the man in his image. What's the man? The man is this joint being. In his image, he created him, referring to the individual one creation.
Who in his image.
He created him.
That was the androgynous.
That was the Ha'adam.
That was the androgynous creature?
Right, that was he initially created. That was stage one.
Okay.
And then after that it says, male and female, he created them. That was the next step afterwards, where he referencing to one guy that broke them apart, separated them, and then had two beings, both male and female. Obvious question. If God wanted, let's ask like this. Could God change his mind? Can God make a mistake? Can God go back? So what did God want? Seems like in the end of the day, God wanted a male and a female to exist separately. So like, what's the deal? God made this like joined being, and then he went ahead and he separated them, and then they became two. Why didn't God just make two if that's what he wanted? Right? We know that God exists beyond time, so there's no mistakes, there's no regrets, there's no what's the deal? Why would God intentionally set it up in such a way that it starts like this and ends like this? So it's an amazing concept. This is really one of the most basic concepts of what marriage really is, marriage 101. And the concept is that God created one being because man and female are supposed to be one being. That's the ideal. What is the perfect human? It is a joining of male and female. Only if we would be created as partially male and partially female, we would never be able to truly give, because we would always be giving to ourselves. Because the male and female are literally one, then they can only give to themselves. They can never really give to somebody else outside of them because they're inherently one. So God separated these two into a male and a female whose job is now to give to each other to the point that they can get back to this ideal being. They can get back to the ideal creature of this united thing. It's a fascinating thing. Kabbalah teaches us that under the chuppah, a male and a female, when they get married, God actually takes their souls and he grafts both souls together. He actually unites their souls together. And what's the concept? The concept is that what marriage is doing, in the spiritual sense, you're already together. Now you have to get your body, that's your goal now in marriage, is to get your body to be aligned to that. You're trying to now say, this is my goal. My goal is to give to this person, which is really the whole purpose of marriage, the whole purpose of us as people, is we're born selfish, and we try to create ourselves to be givers. So God was showing this to us in the inherent creation of man. Man, what's your purpose? I'm making you as one, and then I'm going to separate you so you can struggle and try hard to get back to that oneness again. Because we know, we mentioned this in the past, God only resides with oneness, right? God only resides in unity. That's where we always find God popping up. Mount Sinai, Purim story. God always comes down when we're united. That's what it's on. So God is giving us this message of trying to make us into givers. And that's really the purpose of man, because that's how we become godlike. Because God is the greatest giver. God gave us His world. He gives us life. He gave us a body. He gives everything. The greatest way of becoming godlike is living beyond yourself, looking past yourself, and being a real giver. And that's what it means over here when he says that God created them initially as one being and separated them to teach you the ideal, but then there's this necessary evil again, this practical thing of struggling to get back to that stage again. And this is why they say, I don't know if this is true or not, but they say that if you don't get married when you're young, when you get married when you're older, it's significantly harder to have a successful marriage, because as you get older and older and older, and all you've done your whole life is never really properly given because you've never been married before, and you're always living life for yourself. All of a sudden, when you're 50, it's extremely hard to transform your lifestyle now and become a true giver. It's a very hard thing. A lot of those marriages don't work out. When you're younger, you're still more flexible. You're not as selfish yet in terms of as like set in stone how you are. That's another thing that goes along with this. Okay, So let's go on. What else God command man to do? Verse 28. Can we get let's get a mark on this one.
God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it, and rule over the fish of the sea, the bird of the sky, and every living thing that moves on the earth."
Okay, so what does God say? First thing God says, be fruitful and multiply, right? So God wants us. He created this being. He taught this being that we're going to split you apart to make you guys get married again so you can be givers. And now you should go ahead and have children. Why are we having children? Where's this fitting into it? So there's two reasons. One thing God says is to fill the earth. And the other thing is really, there's really a few aspects to it. One aspect is having children is the main way that we're able to actually, in the most real sense, partner with God. Right? The Talmud teaches us there's three partners in every child: the mother, the father, and God. Right? The mother gives part of the whatever genetics, the father gives the other part, and God gives him his soul. So the closest we get to true creation, if you create a child, is there's nothing there. You really were a part of creating almost ex nihilo, right? Almost something from nothing. I mean, it's not literally because there was something there, but almost the closest we can get to that type of godly creation is having children. So the greatest way we can partner with God is by having children. Secondly, this is really the second step to making ourselves real givers. You get married, and each one has their demands and their sets of, how they live and what they want. But in the general sense, your spouse doesn't wake up every morning for a year crying at 3 o'clock in the morning. A few days here and there, but not every day. When you have a kid, all of a sudden your need to give gets even bigger. Now you get nothing back from this at all, and you never know what's going to happen. All of a sudden you miss work for 3 days because your kid's sick, and he doesn't even care. He's just sitting there crying, annoying you in that same state, right? But this makes us get to that next level of godliness, right? Our main school of becoming godly, the main school in Judaism, all of mitzvahs are for the point of this, but the school for it is really marriage. And part of that is, you're married, you become the most godly through that process of giving. The next level of that is, you develop your family. You have kids, and that makes you into an even bigger giver, into an even more godly person, and that's the continuation of that process. Another interesting thing is it says, Milos arts should fill up the land. So it's a very interesting thing. Everyone here knows who Thomas Malthus, pronounce his name right? I think that's the name. Anyone ever heard of him before? Famous economist at the end of the 18th century, beginning of the 19th century. Everyone just knows that, but I actually knew who he was when I asked him. Just know. Okay, anyways, I never heard of him. Thomas Malthus started the theory of overpopulation in the world. He wrote a book in I think it was published in 1798, if I recall correctly, and he theorized that by 1970, which is when he was speaking 180 years, there's no way that at this growth rate of population we could support a world like this, and probably half the world's going to die out of starvation by 1970, which has so far been proven wrong. It's a very interesting debate if you go read both sides of the debate of, is it a myth and is it true, the concept of overpopulation? I personally believe that it's an explicit verse. The verse says God commanded us to fill up the earth. It didn't say there's going to be any problems with that. As of yet, every prediction that they've made of what point of time it's going to be impossible to ever sustain us anymore, we passed like 7 or 8 of them already. And I don't believe there's a problem of overpopulation. There's other problems in the world. But as a calculation, to not have children because of a fear of overpopulation, I think God is directly addressing that in this verse and saying you should have children and you should fill the earth. Don't just say, you have to have one kid and that's it, like perhaps some countries suggest. The problem is that God's message is you should fill the earth. And there's one more amazing thing I want to share with you, be fruitful and multiply. Everybody knows how our bodies develop. How does your heart turn into a heart? So, I don't really know, but in a very simplified sense, it starts as a cell, and there's, I think, each certain stem cells, whatever it is, have specified tasks, and this cell grows and grows and grows and multiplies itself, and it turns into your heart. More or less? I think that's how it works. Every part of your body, every limb, every organ, starts as a single cell, and it grows itself into more. There's one exception to this. There's one part of the body that actually starts as 2 and joins together to create that part of the body. And that is the uterus. The uterus is a fascinating development, and the uterus actually starts as 2 halves not as one thing. They grow separately, and then they come together and form one thing. This is actually Dr. Milston. We had a few classes with him when we were learning the laws of family purity. He came in to give us, he's a Kanopa GON in the community over here. Great doctor in Medical City. And he mentioned this to us, and he said there's no scientific reason why it's different than any other part of the body, but it is a scientific anomaly that the uterus, for some reason, is created like this. So Rabbi Epstein said he told me a great rabbi, I don't know who he quoted, but he told me, he asked him, why is it that the uterus is created different than all other organs? So he wanted to suggest, this is a great idea, that the uterus is the only part of the body that inherently needs two people to work. Right? The uterus only really properly come to fruition, really properly use itself when it's meant to be used with a male and a female in order to develop a child. The purpose of the uterus is to eventually build the fetus inside of it and give birth to it. So the body itself is actually an expression of its task here. And the body itself comes as two parts coming together because that is the point in time, the place where two bodies come together to create one. Right? That is what having a child is. And because of that, the uterus is formed two halves. Is an amazing thing. Again, no one so far, everyone's been very nice to me, no one's called me out on any of my Torah or scientific information, but I can send anyone anything that they want on either sides of it. This you can even see on the Wikipedia page for uterus, if you want to look under development. Okay, moving on. It's a cool thing. So now, let's go to the next verse. Who hasn't read yet? Jory, want to take a verse?
Sure. 29. God said, behold, I have given to you all herbage yielding seed that is on the surface of the entire earth, and every tree that has seed yielding fruit. It shall be yours for food. And to every beast of the earth, to every bird of the sky, and to everything that moves on the earth, within which there is a living soul, every green herb is for food. And it was so. And God saw all that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the sixth day.
Awesome. So what does God give man to eat? What does he tell man he should eat? I've given to you herbage yielding seed, and every tree that's yielding fruit. So it would imply, if you read this verse, that God intended man to be vegetarian. Right? That definitely is the implication. So the question is that true? Did God intend for man to be vegetarian? We don't have in this pamphlet, but if you look in chapter 9, verse 3, after the great flood, it discusses that when Noah exits the ark, God tells him, I am now giving you just like the trees of the land, I'm giving you the animals for you to eat. So simply read, it would seem to imply that man was intended to be vegetarian, and after the flood, some transformation happened. What exactly? The whole world changed after the flood, and due to that change, God now permitted him to also eat animals. Now, there's a few problems with this, if this is true that God wanted man to be vegetarian. So the first problem is, well, here's a little bit of a tricky thing, but the 7 Noahide laws are actually not Noahide. The 7 Noahide laws are really Adamite laws, because God actually gave these 7 laws to Adam. We refer to them as Noahide laws, I believe, just because the whole world started from Noah, because everything was like that beforehand, and then Noah took over, and everything carried on, so that was the Noahide laws, because we're all descendants of that. But these 7 laws were actually given to Adam. One of these laws is a prohibition to eat from a live animal. Now, if you are not allowed to eat any animal at that time, why would God have to prohibit you from eating from a live animal? You can't eat any animals. There's no need for God to tell Adam, don't eat any live limbs, don't rip a leg off of the sheep and eat it. You can't do that. He can't even eat the sheep in the first place. He gave him only seemingly, the fruits and vegetables, the herbage and fruit.
When were these laws given?
To Adam.
When?
At creation.
At creation.
Yeah. So, second question is, if you look later, I think it's chapter 4, we find the story of Cain and Abel. Again, I'm not getting into that for this class, but they both bring sacrifices. Abel brings a sheep, and God likes Abel's sacrifice and not Cain's. So he liked his sacrifice of a sheep, which means he killed the sheep to give it to God. So there was clearly no prohibition of killing an animal, because he killed an animal to give it to God, and God was appeased by it. So what exactly was this? So Rashi explains that there was a prohibition to kill an animal to eat it. That was what was prohibited. You're not allowed to kill an animal to eat it. Meaning what? If you found a dead animal, you were allowed to eat the animal. There's no prohibition of eating animals. You could eat a dead animal. You cannot eat an alive animal. That's why there needs to be a prohibition. Don't eat from an alive animal, because you can eat dead ones. You want to kill an animal for a sacrifice? You could do that. If you need clothing or something, you could do that. The only prohibition was, you can't go ahead, you want to cut something off from its life source, you can only cut off fruits, herbage, seeds, vegetables. Those you can cut off from the life source. Take them out of where they're growing to eat them. You can't take an animal out of where it's growing and where it's on. You can't kill the animal to eat it. And that transformation happened at the Great Flood, that God said, now you can actually go ahead and you can kill animals, which is what it's talking about over there. If you look in the verse, chapter 9, verse 3, you can go ahead and you can kill animals and you can actually eat them. So it's definitely not, according to Rashi, he wasn't made exclusively vegetarian. He was given these to eat in addition to any other dead animals that he would have found. Now you'll notice, though, a very interesting thing, that says God gives man seeds, herbage, I don't know these words. He gives it basically herbage yielding seed and fruit. But then in the next verse 30, the beasts of the earth and the birds are only giving every green herb. Right? So we see a distinction. Man was given fruit and herbs, and beasts are only given herbs. The reason for this is because there always has to be a distinction between man and animal. Man always has to be, they have to recognize that they're greater than the animals. We spoke about before, the only thing we're in control of is ourselves. Why do people hate being told what to do? Because all I can decide is what I do. And when you take away my ability to choose what to do, you're basically turning me into an animal. Man has this inherent knowledge of our greatness, that we want to be greater than the animals. So even in the state, God made sure there were certain things that were uniquely man food as opposed to animal food. Interesting thing in the verse. Okay, moving on. So, at the end of this verse, it says in verse 31, last verse of the chapter, congratulations guys, God saw all that he had made, and behold, it was very good. Evening, morning, the sixth day. So, we commented in the past, we spoke about how sometimes it says it was good. It was good. There's only one place where the Torah writes it was very good, right? It wasn't just good, it was very good. Why here does the Torah write very good? What was very good about the creation of man? Everything that was created was good, but the creation of man was very good. So it's an amazing concept, getting back to what we said before, that the oral law explains that what it says very is referring to the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination. And it's actually referring to the creation of man's positive good inclination and bad inclination. What was very good about man? This choice that we spoke about before. What was very good about man was they were different than every other animal. This was the purpose of creation. Here's something that could be godlike, which means he has the ability to do good, but you know he's very good? Because he also has the ability to do bad. That's what makes man very good. What makes him very good is he could choose. You could choose to be good or bad. That is very good. That's the purpose of everything, obviously hoping that we choose to make ourselves on the positive side. That is something that is unique to the creation of man. And something else unique to this day is the word "da," right? Every other day, you go back and you look, they translate this in the English as well. You go to a fifth day, a fourth day, a third day, a second day, right? It's always All of a sudden we come to the sixth day, and it's the sixth day. What's the sixth day? It's a sixth day, like there was a fifth and a fourth. There's a sixth. What does it mean, the sixth day?
It's the last part of the creation process.
Perfect. It was the last part of the creation process. And I'll just add to that, it was the last part of the creation process, and because of that, God wanted to ensure that this creation would come to its potential. Why did God make this world? For man. Why? Because man is this great creature that can choose how to act, can control himself or not, and make himself be great. Now God wanted man to be great. How was God going to make sure man was great? What did God give mankind to help us make ourselves great?
Free will.
Free will is what allows us, puts us in the game. Then how did he help us choose to make ourselves great as opposed to choosing to make ourselves bad? What did he give us? Torah, right? He gave us the Torah. So the word the is actually hinting to the word Torah. Now how is that? How does the word the hint to the Torah? It's an amazing thing. In Hebrew, it says Sheni, Shlishi, Revi'i, that means second, third, fourth. In the Hebrew, it's Hashishi. There's an extra hey. Now hey, if you go with the numerical value of letters, hey is the numerical value of 5. So Rashi teaches us that the word hey is hinting towards the 5 books of Moses. And God said an amazing thing. God said that there is a stipulation on making a creation. This creation, all of this goodness that I created, it was good, it was good, it was good, it was very good. Everything here is dependent. It's all on condition that there will be a nation, there will be someone in the world that takes the Torah. Why? Because the purpose of the world is to have a relationship with God, to make ourselves great. And the only vehicle that will help us get there, that will allow us to actualize that, that's the Torah. So God made the stipulation that if they don't accept the Torah, I'm going to return the whole world back to nothingness. There's no point. The fact that everybody came here tonight on a Thursday evening, instead of whatever else would have done, this is a fulfillment of the purpose of the world. That's why we're here. That's what we're doing. We're learning, we're making ourselves better, becoming closer to God. Right? And that's an amazing thing. That's all hinted in the word the. The word the teaches us, or really the Hebrew letter hey, teaches us this concept, which is amazing. Okay, so that really encapsulates the 6 days of creation. I want to add one more slide here, just because, I don't know if anyone knows this or not. Do you know who made the chapters? Chapters are actually invented by a Christian priest. They're not a Jewish concept. In the Jewish concept, we have certain spaces in the Torah. We have open areas. If you look inside the Torah scroll itself, you can see it here. So the lines, these are demarcations in Torah. And old books, before they had this chapters, they used to mark them off with how many of these had passed since a certain point. And these are actually how they marked them. But since they created the chapters, you kind of go with them. But a lot of times I find the chapters are not actually 100% accurate of where they're stopping, hadn't really followed Jewish tradition. It's a few verses off in one direction or the other direction. So the chapter stops here at the end of the 6th day, but we don't know how many days total? 7 days, right? And what's the last day? Last day is Shabbos, right? That was the last day of creation. So we're not going to go through the verses inside and out. It's beyond the scope of this class. This class is just the first chapter of Genesis. But just to complete the concept of understanding creation from the first week, from the first day until Shabbos, we'll just say a quick idea on Shabbos. And that is, what is Shabbos? Shabbos is meant to be a day of rest, right? Shabbos is a day of rest.
And a baby.
Shabbos is a day of rest. That's what you're supposed to do in Shabbos. You're supposed to rest, you're supposed to relax. Now, why do we have a commandment to rest? It's like a funny thing. Like you command to take a vacation. Your boss comes over and says, you know, you're working too hard. You have to take vacation. Okay, fine, no problem, right? Why do we have to rest? So the concept is that God created the world in 6 days, as we discussed. And God ceased from creative action on day 7. That's when God stopped. And God rested. By us, we mentioned before, God put us in charge of this world. God made us his partners. And as a partner, God says, I want you to testify to what I did, and I want you to do the same thing I did to show that you're my partner and you're on board the same way I did it. So for 6 days a week, you should do actions, you should work, you should do creative actions. And then on the 7th day, our partnership closes for the day. Not closes, quite the opposite. Our partnership is expressed by actually us focusing on each other more, which we'll see in a second. If I ask you the question on Shabbos, is Shabbos a day that's focused on in Jewish thought? Is it a day of do's or a day of don'ts? What do you say?
Both.
Day of both. There's things to do and there's things to not do. If I were to ask what's the essence of Shabbos, so a lot of people feel the essence of Shabbos is so restrictive. I can't move, I'm stuck. I can't go anywhere, I can't drive anywhere, I can't be on my phone. I can't do that, right? So that's really a misunderstanding in Shabbos. What Shabbos is basically God saying, I want there to be in this partnership, 6 days a week you're busy, filling the world like I told you to, you're developing it, you're working, you're doing stuff. 1 day a week, I want to have a relationship with you. So the message of Shabbos really is, do have a relationship with me, don't be distracted. Like, take an example. My wonderful wife would love it, and she reminds me sometimes, when I come home, if I take my phone, I put it on top of the refrigerator. That's my requested storage spot for my phone. What's the reason? Is it because she's trying to restrict my life and she doesn't want me to have a phone? No. It's because now it's family time. Now you're with me, you're with the kids. Now is the time to be focused on family, and the phone is a distraction to that. It takes you away from your focus. Right? The concept is, on Shabbos, God is saying, this is the time when we have a relationship together. I don't want any distractions. Don't have your television on, don't have your phone on, don't be driving around everywhere. Just relax, sit at home, and where's your real life? If we ask people, maybe everyone, be honest to yourself, where's your real life? Is it at work or is it at home? Forget God for a second. Just in your own personal life, where's real life? Is it at work or is it at home? Your real life, hopefully, should be at home, right? That's where your real, what really matters to you in life is your home. But what? But we're at work so much. So it's hard, since we lose focus on what's real. That is the home, and we let our work pervade our home and jump into our home. And the same thing with God. So we're so busy developing God's world, doing, we just totally forget God's even there. So God says, I want there to be a point in time when you leave yourself on top of the fridge, a day of do have a relationship with me. Come have a relationship with me. Don't be distracted. And that's really why we see is from all creative actions. All of the work similar to what God did, we can't do on Shabbos in order to have this relationship. And that's really why in Judaism, the whole week by great rabbis is really revolved around Shabbos. The Talmud speaks of stories of the great Hillel, who he used to, wherever he went shopping in the store, if he would see a nice cut of meat, he would buy this meat. Oh, this meat's for Shabbos on Sunday. He'd be in the store again Tuesday buying supper. Say, oh my gosh, this piece of meat's even nicer. I'm buying this piece of meat for Shabbos. Right? And he'd end up being the first one and then saving the second one. He'd do this 4 times in the same week. Why? Because he was always thinking about Shabbos. What's the message? The message is he was thinking, when am I going to be able to just go relate to God? When am I going to be able to just be there with Him and not be distracted with other things? Now it's what kind of brought it, it's like kind of imagine during your work week, you're thinking about your home. I'm going to be home later with my wife. I'm going to be home later with my kids. I'm going to get back to real life. That's kind of the focal point that Shabbos plays in Judaism. And with that, we end the series. We wanted to thank everyone very much for participating. Those that are here and those that will listen to it later. Everyone has definitely added, and everyone is still welcome to ask as many questions or follow up on anything or whatever else. And hopefully we'll have the chance in the future to study more classes together. Thank you everyone very much.